Hello there, third graders. It's Miss Hess here, broadcasting to you from your library, a very empty library. I sure do miss you guys. Hey, so your teachers tell me that you are studying weather and climate in Unit 8. So I found a book in my nonfiction section. Actually, the one you see on my screen is available both in my nonfiction section and digitally. So because you can see the book so much better digitally, I decided we would do it from Mac and Via, that I would just bring it up on my screen and read through it with you. Okay, so it's called Waiting for Ice by Sandra Markle and illustrated by Alan Marks. And this book is about global warming and some of the really sad effects that happen. So I hope you enjoy the book, guys. Here we go. Maybe. Okay, Waiting for Ice. A polar bear cub, barely 10 months old, leaps out of the waves onto the gravel beach. She shakes the sea off and looks around. There are lots of other polar bears on this bit of land, but she doesn't see her mother. That's pretty scary for the baby, right? Screaming, the young cub searches in one direction, then another. She sees lots of adult females, but none is her mother. The cub runs away, screaming even louder. Whether orphaned or lost, the cub is among strangers, most much bigger than she is. It's early October. The polar bears have spent the summer on Wrangel Island, far north of Russia, in the Arctic Ocean, trapped because the drifting pack ice they roam has melted. They must wait for the patchwork quilt of ice to return, so they can hunt for seals and whales from these floating life rafts. But this summer has been warmer than usual. The polar bears crowd together on a spit of land stretching out into the sea and wait for the ice that is late in coming. The young cub roams among them, searching for her mother. Yeah, it's very sad for her. When another female with a cub blocks her way and growls, the young cub bolts from the spit, heading inland. She runs over rock-studded, ice-crusted tundra up a steep slope. This past December, on another hillside, she was born in a snow den. Her mother kept her close, safe, and well-fed, even after she climbed out of the den in early April. Polar bear cubs usually stay with their mother for 2 to 3 years, but this cub is already alone and on her own, so they depend on their mamas for survival. Slowing to a walk, the cub crosses a ridge. She stops from time to time to lift her head and sniff. Nearby are jagged cliffs, where all summer thousands of black-legged kittiwakes nested, raising chicks. The flock has flown south, but the cub follows her keen nose and finds a dead bird. She feeds on this and walks on, carrying what's left for later. After a while, the cub curls up and naps with her back to the wind. Some signal alerts her, a scent or a sound, and she opens her eyes to an Arctic fox sneaking up close. She chases this prey, but with bushy tail flying, the fox sprints away, and by the time the cub returns, the fox has circled back and stolen what was left behind. Several days later, hunger drives the cub back to the beach. Now even more polar bears wait on the spit. There's ice offshore, but it's the size of giant lily pads and pancake thin, too weak to support polar bears. With the migrating prey gone, the hunters are hungry. They chew on old whalebones, and fight for a few fish that wash ashore. This is a very serious situation for animals when they can't do what they naturally do to get to feed, right? If you can't feed, it's hard to survive. You feel so bad for these polar bears. Day after day, for nearly 2 weeks, the cub grabs a mouthful of food wherever she can. Most young orphan cubs die of hunger or become prey themselves. Though she grows thin, this young female stays alive. The cub is napping on a rise when the walruses arrive to rest on the beach. She wakes to loud barks, "Arr, arr, arr," and the sight of boulder-sized bodies resting so close together that each leans on its long tusks on its neighbor. Hungry polar bears patrol the walrus herd, on the lookout for the weak or the wounded. Suddenly, one big male polar bear charges in. Pushing, grunting walruses stampede into the sea. A calf lags behind. The big male bites the calf's neck and pulls it away. The mother walrus turns with tusks raised to strike, but the male is already hauling the calf up the rise. The hungry cub leaps up and trails after him. What do you think that baby cub's going to do? Fight that big polar bear? What do you think? Think about that for a second. When she catches up, the big male stands with blood-stained face between her and his meal. She circles and then belly crawls closer while he feeds. When she finally takes a bite of the walrus flesh, the big male growls, but lets her stay. While the cub eats her fill, the snow begins. By the time the male plods away, the air is full of swirling flakes. The cub finds shelter nearby among rocks and curls up to wait out the storm roaring ashore from the sea. For nearly a week the blizzard rages while the cub lives on leftovers and sleeps. When it stops, the whole world is changed. Pregnant female polar bears head for the mountains to den in drifts where they'll sleep, give birth, and keep their cubs safe until spring comes again. Along the shore is the biggest change of all. The pack ice is back. Yay! The waiting is over. Free to roam and hunt, big adult males leave at once. Over the next few days, young adults follow. So do mothers with cubs trailing behind them. The orphan cub lingers on this land that is harsh, hungry, and home. Daily, though, she goes out into the ice to explore. It's really hard for her to adapt to being alone and figuring out how to do all this stuff. One day, she stays to nap. While she sleeps, the ice cracks. When she awakes, she's adrift. Floating, right? Though Wrangel Island is only a short swim away, she stays. To grow up, she'll have to learn to hunt on the Arctic Ocean using ice floes as resting places, and that is exactly what she'll do. With a leap to another floe, she heads out onto the ice. And that's the end of this book. So you guys, as you can see, global warming has very, very serious consequences for the planet and its wildlife. And this is just one book to get us thinking about what we can do for our world to help better the environment. So I hope you guys are well, and I'll see you next time. Have a good day.